Hey there, this is Charis, and I'm gonna put my little camera remote down. I'm in New Orleans, and this is day 2. I got in last night about midnight, and the video I'm gonna record for you right now is on bargaining with your mission and alien racism. And I don't mean illegal aliens from other countries. I mean, well, although those go into the category too, I guess, because I'm going to talk about human on human racism too. But before I get started with that, I'll just update you on what's been going on. I'm here with my mother and my sister for the Essence Music Festival. And I've been experimenting with this sleep thing lately. If you read my blog, which you can get by going to my website, then you'll know that I've been doing this for, I guess, about a month now. But essentially the way that it works is that you only sleep in like 4 to 6 hour increments at a time, and then you wake up. And so, like, say you have a 9 to 5 job, you would go to sleep for like a couple hours after dinner and then get up and sleep for like a 4-hour block or a 6-hour block. And you would get up for an hour or two in between those. But the way I usually do it is get up for like an hour in the middle of the night, like in the wee hours at 2 or 3 a.m. or something, and then sleep on until really early in the morning, and then take a small afternoon nap. And what it does is it does things to your consciousness, and apparently, you know, the subjective, emotional, non-linear world of sleep shouldn't be so divided from the objective, mental, logical, linear world of your awake time, and it kind of melds them together. And in the natural world, we wouldn't sleep for these huge chunks, and it's actually not good for your body to be still for that amount of time, and blah, 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 blah. It's not my idea. I got it from the book Seth Speaks, actually, which I would highly recommend if you like channeled works. Anyway, I really love it, but the problem with it is that if you don't do it the right way, then you end up really kind of wigging out because you haven't had enough sleep. That's kind of how I am right now. And for instance, last night I went to bed at almost about 5 because I was still on California time, and we had gotten in and we had beignets, which you might have seen that video where obviously I was like sugar, refined flour coma after having them. It was ridiculous. And not that there's anything wrong with that, it's just that if you're not used to it, then it really gets you for a loop, and you can see the difference between, you know, what you normally eat and then the stuff that you're like gorging on because it's interesting and novel and tastes good, because of course sugar does. Anyway, so I went to sleep at about 5, got up at about 9, meant to sleep for a couple hours this afternoon. Didn't happen because I'm going around the city with my mom and my sister, and we're having a great time, and we keep on pushing it back and saying, oh, we'll go to the hotel in a little while, we'll go in a little while. And so, needless to say, I actually should be sleeping right now, which brings me to my next point, which is bargaining with destiny or intuition or direction. And you know how sometimes they say that with great power comes great responsibility? Well, the way that I think of it is with great intuition comes great direction, and not like, oh, I have this great direction, which is sometimes true, but more like, do this, I need to do this now, and if I don't, then the baseball bat theory will come into effect and I'll get whammed over the head eventually. For instance, I'm supposed to be sleeping right now, and I was just winding down, you know, checking some emails, doing some stuff like that, while my mom and sister are actually at the music shows, because I don't do shows for some reason. The really loud bass, I just don't really like it. I'd rather, you know, be far away or have earplugs, and so I'm like, what's the point? You guys just go and I'll hang out here and enjoy New Orleans from the hotel room at the moment. But anyway, thought I was going to go to bed, and then this idea for a video comes like blaring into my mind, and I'm asking my intuition, and sometimes I'm talking to guides, sometimes I'm just talking to myself, like my own kind of intuitive spot, which is a different spot than your normal mental voice, which is more linear and logical and makes sense in a different way than intuition does, kind of in this fluid, like knowing way rather than figuring things out. And I said, well, can I go to bed and make the video tomorrow? And the intuitive part of me was like, nope, you make it now, you'll have another one to make tomorrow. Okay, so here I am making this video. And yeah, because I know better, and I know that if I don't do it, then it's likely that I'll either lose the idea, which sucks, or something will happen that I need to do it, and it'll be a lot less pleasant than, say, pushing back my sleep for another half hour, or even, God forbid, another hour. So anyway, Yeah, that's the first part, is about kind of bargaining and dodging intuition. And so those of you who are activating your intuition, and you know who you are, I know a lot of you have contacted me and asked either how to do it, or said that you were needing support, or asking advice, or just sharing, and that's great. I love hearing from you guys. When you get directions, do them. I've learned by now not even to question, as long as I hear it clearly, which then goes back to if you're sleep deprived, if you have adequate nutrition, all that kind of business. But if you don't do it, then you'll miss a chance. I mean, I've gotten some of the craziest directions, like, you know, walk over there. Do it. There would be absolutely no reason, and the times when I did, something amazing would happen. Or I would learn something really cool, and it was never, you know, I've never had it where, like, you know, an anvil falls right where I was, thank goodness, and knock on some wood about that. But moreover, it's just that you can make your life a lot more beautiful by doing that. So follow it once you've started activating it, and I know a lot of people's intuition is cracking open right now anyway. And it's better not to bargain. It's better to just, if you want to be here and you want to have your role, then go with it and do what inspires you, because if you're inspired to do something, if you have this thing inside you that needs to get out, then that means absolutely that there is a place in the universe, and likely here on our planet, because we haven't branched out that far yet, that really needs whatever it is that's trying to come through you. That's the way that, you know, the overall consciousness or God answers its needs. I mean, if this finger itches, the finger doesn't scratch itself. One of these fingers comes over and scratches it. And so you with the intuition is the scratching finger, the person who needs the information or needs the artwork or really, you know, has to do whatever the thing is that you'll facilitate just by following your own gut and your own inspiration, is the itchy finger. And that's a horrible simile, example, but I'm sleep deprived, so that's my excuse. Second part of the video is about racism, and this is a loaded subject, because, well, for a lot of people, period, and also for me, I am multiracial. My father's white and my mother is black, and I was raised in a very racist community where everyone was racist against each other. The time where I was raised, there were really only black people and white people in the community, and they did not mix. So needless to say, it was very difficult for me and my brother and my sister, who, and our parents were the first and only interracial marriage in that county for like 20 years. So it was rough, and I've had some definite experiences about that from both sides. You know, it's not just white people being racist to me because I was half black. It was also black people being racist to me because I was half white. And it's interesting because mostly I've lived in progressive areas during my adult life. I lived in, usually if you go to the bigger cities, you're better off generally, but especially now that I'm out in Southern California, which is where I was born, although we moved away when I was a young child and went to the place where I was raised that was very racist. Usually when you're in places like that where a lot of the cultures are brought in and mixed together and stuff, racism isn't that big a deal, although it's not completely gone in a lot of ways. But if you don't have to deal with it, you're fortunate. And I know a lot of people who really don't. And a lot of people who have said, really, that happened to you? When I've told them X, Y, Z. And I've said, yes, really, you didn't know that happened? And they really didn't. So it's one of those things, and how really, really good people, really, truly good-hearted people can be totally racist and treat other people like less than animals, you know, because, you know, in my opinion, we shouldn't even treat animals badly because they're sentient beings. But even if you don't believe that and say animals should be treated like animals, they treat them like that. And when these are human beings and they're your peers, and the only difference is in a melanin level, like, which doesn't make any sense. But anyway, this is up for me because just tonight I was getting food. And the Essence Festival is a famous black music festival. So it's this beautiful culture, and it is interesting that the black community in our country has been so downtrodden over the few hundred of years since they were first brought over as slaves, mostly. You know, there are exceptions, but some people came over for other reasons, but I'm going to go ahead and say the majority here. I don't know the numbers, but I'm going to assume that the majority of the black ancestors that came over here were stolen and highly traumatized and robbed of everything and made to be essentially live in hell, right, for generations. So the fact that the American culture of black culture has gotten so beautiful and rich and original and just full of this amazing creativity and glorious just energy and solidarity and all kinds of beauty. Every way you want to look at it is amazing. I mean, I can't wait for the day that everyone can, yes, know what happened, but also, rather than see it as a horrible thing to still be pained about, because I'm not talking about people like they have a chip on their shoulder, like they don't need to. It's going on and it sucks and it's terrible. However, if they can see it as this amazing thing that catalyzed this like transformation of an entire continent, you know, I'm just excited for that to happen. But anyway, I think we're on our way. I mean, this, for instance, just this festival alone is glorious and awesome. So I'm getting food, and this woman blows me off because she thinks I'm white, which is interesting. And I don't know what people think I am. Usually they can't tell. And what I end up telling people is I'm kind of everything except one or two cultures, because it's true. Like, even though my mom is black and my dad's white, they also have, each of them has a lot of other stuff too. So yeah, there are about 2 continents on the world that I don't have genes from, but that's pretty much about it. So anyway, someone is mean and rude to me because she thought I was white, and it's funny, but you can feel that thud when someone's being racist toward you. It feels different than any other type of blow off. You know, people can blow you off because they're in a bad mood or because you did something that annoyed them, or a myriad of reasons. But that racist kink in it is very specific. And if you felt it, then you know it. And I just remember being totally shocked and going back over to where my mother and my sister were sitting at the table and saying, someone was just mean to me because she was racist and she thought I was white. And both of them kind of, it was that moment in the conversation where the record scratches and there are crickets. And they said, what? I was like, yeah. Okay. And I can't even get mad because, like I said, I've known truly good people who are also very racist because it's fear-based. Fear-based. Now, when I think about the things going on with ETs and abduction, and when I speak to people or see media creations from people who are saying, these are the facts we have, A, B, C, and D, which are all very benign. You know, we've seen totally peaceful crafts in the sky. There might be this genetic breeding program going on. They are trying to merge the races and become a community of more than just Earth-based humans, if there's even such thing. I'll put in my own little aside. And so these are all benign things, right? Like, especially since we're just kind of indigenous people on an island, assuming there's no one else across the ocean, the island being Earth or Gaia and the ocean being space. So it would make sense that if others are, you know, billions and billions of years ahead in evolution, they know that we're here, they're hanging out, and yeah, they might want to assimilate. Yeah, they probably even have had a hand this whole time in what's been going on. But the fear-based, oh my gosh, we have to stand up against this, what are they doing? Well, that doesn't really make sense to me. It seems the same logic as during civil rights. No, we can't let people be free. All the black men will come and rape our white wives. Wait, what? What are you talking about? Just because there's a new culture coming in, this is something to be afraid of? And this is even goes among the people who, I know that was terrible grammar, this is even goes among, but I'm just going to go with it. This goes among the people who believe in ETs and aren't necessarily afraid, but they're like, oh, but the reptilians. The reptilians are evil, all of them, everywhere. Well, isn't that the same thing too? Because I know that I personally have had experiences that were very, very loving with beings that sure did look like the classic depiction of a reptilian. So, yeah, just a thought to try to keep yourself an open mind. We all have our barriers. We all have our things we need to cross. And there's nothing you can do because you don't know what you don't know. And so the hugest thing that allows racism to still exist between humans and non-humans, everything, is the denial that you're doing it. So if you are doing it, just first become aware, which is the hardest thing because there's such a black mark on it. And like I said, very good people can also be very racist. And so if you then figure out that you are, say you are among a culture. I know a lot of people who are racist, especially in Southern California. Like, it's not, well, I guess that is the black-white thing, but it's also the Hispanic thing. Like, Hispanics and blacks and whites, and everyone thinks each other are weird, and then Asians, and it's just crazy. It's ridiculous. And it's the same with, others as well. So keep it in mind and remember what you are. You are a divine being living in a body on a planet. That's what you are, and we're all really the same. So, they say, well, it doesn't matter what color your skin is, your blood's always red. Well, people from off planet, perhaps their blood isn't red, but our energy is always pure, and we're all from the same divine source. And so, try to have that as your place that you come from, and maybe just try it for a day and see what happens, and knowing that since we are all from the same source, every single person you meet, no matter how atrocious their behavior seems, if you had the exact same past that they had from beginning to current time, you might be doing the exact same thing. And so perhaps to try to go about your life with less of a warlike mentality, and if someone does come to you with something that would hurt, if you could, rather than come back and do the gridlock thing, if you could just see that they're speaking from a place that has been in pain, or they're acting from a place that has been in pain and is now afraid, or angry because they're afraid of what could happen, or assuming that they need to come at the world with a battle armor perspective, then that's how we're going to stop it, is by recognizing and then not answering it with the battle, not confirming what they think is going to happen. That's mostly human on human. I don't really know how the ETs feel about it. The ones who I've spoken to have essentially said, we're okay. Your opinion of us doesn't make us think any less of ourselves. Whereas from a human perspective, growing up and everyone thinking that I was less because I was either one race or the other, I did struggle with that. But no, not so much anymore. I'm pretty cool with what's going on. I don't know. Anyway, I'm gonna go to sleep. So you guys have a great day. I am assuming I'll record something else tomorrow. But until then, go in peace. Remember who you are. Breathe deep. Sit up straight. And I will see you soon.